How's it going, everybody? Welcome in to another episode of the Mavs Step Back Podcast. I'm your host, Dalton Trigg. I'm joined by my DallasBasketball.com colleague and Mavs Step Back correspondent, Grant Afseth, who was there for the Mavs' latest win. It was a 144-126 walloping of the Los Angeles Clippers at American Airlines Center. It was the Mavs' second in-season tournament game. It was the first one on the road, though. They had the nice new black uniforms that I thought, looked really nice compared to what the original leaks looked like. When I thought they were going to be gray, I was like, but I thought they ended up looking really nice. They didn't have the nice new court because of a manufacturing issue, so, there was that. But, it didn't affect their on-court play. Luka was amazing. Going into this game, and I wrote about it on our DallasBasketball.com game preview, not only did I expect him to have a bounce-back game just because he shot the ball so poorly against Toronto. He went 11 of 26 in that one. But, just in general, he loves playing against the Clippers. Actually, I'm working on a story right now. You shared it, it was an ESPN stats tweet. It's like it's historical dominance for Luka versus the Clippers. Like, he is dominating them the same way Wilt Chamberlain and Michael Jordan dominated a handful of teams throughout their careers. It's crazy. He sees the Clippers and he just decides to light them on fire. It's hilarious. I love watching it. And he did so on Friday night again, scoring 44 points and shot 17 of 21 from the field. Like, just insane stuff from Luka. And then Kyrie pitched in 27 points himself. Just overall, a really good night for the Mavs. Going through the box score here real quick. Derrick Jones Jr. had a double-double with 11 points and 10 rebounds, had 3 steals, 3 assists, and he was a team high plus 36 on the night. He continued,
and a crazy putback.
Crazy putback. He continues over Paul George. And he just continues to be a bright spot for this team. There's a lot to talk about. Those are my main 3 takes. Luka's dominance over the Clippers, Kyrie finding his footing. You have some interesting stuff to, kind of expand on that. And then Derrick Jones Jr., and then we'll go from there. But, I mean, what are your thoughts, initial thoughts, takeaways from that Mavs-Clippers game?
Yeah, I thought, for a team that really struggled in first halves for most of the season or early part of the season, since, I don't want to sound like we're in April or anything or in February talking about the whole season since it hasn't even been 10 games yet. But, they've
way to go.
In first halves, for sure. A long way to go. They've struggled with first halves and, seeing them go down 8-0 and then, 31-19. And then respond with a massive run. Like, the exact numbers were just insane. Like, I think at
Clippers, one point it was 35-4.
Yeah, it literally. And then, like, the Clippers didn't even hit double figures in the second quarter until like around 3 minutes left until halftime. Like, it was crazy. Like, just seeing a response like that, before halftime as opposed to after halftime, like in a lot of their games so far this season, was definitely an intriguing thing, especially with a team that's got a lot of, I guess you could say optimism and, talent with them with the James Harden trade. They haven't won with Harden yet. They're 0-3, but, when you make a trade like that midseason, they were very, amped up about it and, optimistic about how their pieces will come together. And, just handling, a team that has
sounds familiar, by the
wings. Yeah, for sure. Some of the like top wings like Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, it took him until the second half to even get on the board scoring wise. Having strong performance against a team with those types of talents, that goes a long way for a team like the Mavs that has struggled against some of those like tougher wing options. Like Aaron Gordon, Michael Porter Jr. and that Nuggets loss, and then also recently. In their previous game against, Scotty Barnes, Pascal Siakam, and OG Anunoby. So seeing, against 2 of the premier wings in the league, that was definitely a big takeaway as well. Kawhi Leonard still got his points, 26, and he was very effective in the first quarter, especially. But, just not allowing a guy like that to take over a game, especially in a high stakes game like an in-season tournament game, just the ultimate peak of basketball right there, in-season tournament.
Yeah.
But yeah, just
the thing everybody's excited about, and don't really know what's going on. Every clip I see of guys talking about, they're just like, we have no idea what's going on. We're
Yeah,
just kind of doing
Kyrie
what we're
actually
told.
mentioned when Dwayne Price asked him about the in-season tournament game, he actually mentioned that he went through shoot around today and he completely forgot that it was even an in-season tournament game.
Real important stuff here, you know. Oh man, I can't wait to see that monstrosity of a court in New Orleans on Tuesday. That's going to be fun. I'm gonna
It's
have to bring
almost
my
like
shade.
Mardi Gras, like throw up from Mardi Gras. It looks like on
That
the floor.
neon green is going to kill me, but yeah, I mean, look, it was a good game. You know, it's good to see Kyrie and Luka get going. I mean, you know, it's a good night when, you know, during the last game, that disappointing loss to the Raptors, you know, Kyrie said that Jason Kidd called them soft because they gave up 72 points in the paint. They were outscored 72 to 40 in the paint during that game. And I mean, look, it wasn't that much better in this game. I mean, it was, but not by much. They still lost. They gave up 62 points in the paint to the Clippers, and they were outscored 62 to 50 in that department this time around. But, you know, that's progress. And, you know, when Luka and Kyrie are combining for 70 plus points, it tends to not even matter. Like, they had such a good game together. And then they got some good contributions from Derrick Jones Jr., who we talked about at the top of this thing. You had Tim Hardaway Jr. continuing to do his 6-man of the year thing off the bench. He was a plus 20 on the night, which was great to see. Also had 3 assists. Look at Tim Hardaway Jr., distributor, dishing out assists for the Mavs. And then you had Jaden Hardy with 11 points and Dante Exum with 8 points and Powell with 9 points. You know, they had a lot of guys contributing. And, you know, Grant Williams, who's been a big part of this team's success in the first 9 games, he didn't even really have a good game. He only scored 2 points, only shot 2 field goals, has played 16 minutes, but it didn't matter because, you know, this is kind of one of those situations where if one guy doesn't have it, they finally have enough depth to where they can get it from other places. And, you know, if Luka and Kyrie, if they're going, chances are they're going to get, you know, a handful of other guys going too, even if it swaps out who it is that's going to shine on any given night. So that's a good thing to look at going forward. I do still think this team needs at least, they need to try and upgrade their center depth. I'm not saying they need to do something to, you know, make it to where Lively isn't the starter anymore. But I do think they need to do something to upgrade their center depth behind Lively at the very least. And then they could, you know, afford to get bigger on the wing. Because, I mean, they're just small on the wing. They're overpowered by everybody in that department, it seems like, on a nightly basis. Which leads me into my next point, and I want to ask you about, because Josh Green is just kind of in the mud lately. He hasn't had a good stretch. He's coming off that 3-year, $41 million extension. So, I mean, he's gotten paid now. So the expectation, you know, if he had done this last year or the year before, it's like, okay, well, you know, just another game. He's young. He'll get it going the next time. Now the expectations are higher, and he has had back-to-back just terrible games. And he doesn't seem to have a plan, you know, when he's out there. On the last pod I did, you weren't on here, but I did a solo pod, and I described him as the Tasmanian devil because he gets out there and he's high energy and he's running around, you know, waving his head, just real spastic, but there's just not really a plan. And it tends to hurt the Mavs because, you know, tonight he played 18 minutes, only shot 1 of 4 from the field. And in those 18 minutes, he was a negative 15. In a game, the Mavs won by 18 points. That's really hard to do, I feel like. So, how concerned should we be with Josh Green? Do you think he can turn this around as the season progresses, or do the Mavs need to look elsewhere, like with Dante Exum and his minutes?
I definitely think it is worth experimenting with different combinations. Like as you brought up Exum, that's someone that really stood out to me. Like he had some full court defensive possessions and got some stops against Russell Westbrook. You know, like an aggressive guard with strength and athleticism like Westbrook. That's not an easy task to be able to do that. And then I thought he, you know, created some plays off the dribble. effectively as well. And when you have Luka and Kyrie alongside him, that's a lot of talent. Making plays with the ball. To have that third option to be able to piece the unit together, kind of be that Swiss Army knife, if you will. I guess you could say that you would ideally hope that Josh Green would take a step forward and develop into. But I think overall, I would be like relatively concerned right now because I think there are times where you see Josh perform and he's pretty like uncomfortable at times. I feel like still like I think he's still trying to figure out the best way to make an impact. And at some of the games so far, they've tried to get him going at times like in spot opportunities with involving him as the focus of an action. And I feel like there's been situations where he's kind of done too much with the basketball. Like he feels like now that the action has kind of been called for him. He's coming off of like double wide pin downs or a zoom action, and now he's getting downhill and he has to make a play with the ball. Like he kind of leaves his feet without, like as you said, like without a plan. And the defense may like recover back to the first read options on those passing opportunities, and now there's nothing really like open. And I think the big thing for him is like getting aggressive in short range for scoring opportunities with his jumper, like developing in that area, instead of kind of looking to overpass at times. But then also not in general, like when you do commit to being aggressive downhill, it's important not to, obviously with the overpassing, but also you have to commit to actually like finishing the play, like getting to a spot, raising up and shooting instead of like, not having a plan as you mentioned. I think, in general, he did mention, entering the year wanting to develop as kind of like a operator in tight spaces, as a shot creator, into shot clock sort of situations. And I think, starting with, having a plan in those actions, like looking at the film and kind of developing a point of attack. Like, okay, if this option isn't here on the pass, this is how I'm going to have to attack as a scorer and be aggressive. And I think just within the flow, there are times where he does get caught doing a little too much as well. But I think, it's boom or bust right now. Like there's some ups and downs. He did have a really effective, attack. Got into the paint, left his feet, and found Tim Hardaway wide open for a three. And that was like continuing the momentum sort of play tonight. I think just getting comfortable and really finding like that plan, if you will, as we've alluded to numerous times, will definitely be a key for him. And I think overall, defensively is another area. There's been times where I feel like he's overhelped on defense. And then kind of been too aggressive trying to make plays on the ball, whether it's in the passing lanes or, just trying to make a swipe at the ball. So I think, just continuing to develop into, I guess you could say like that under control, like having a plan and, just comfortable option out there on both sides is definitely something that still needs to happen. And, this is, a multi-year development process. So you would like to see, I guess you could say like more results right now. To where it's at. But, overall, what you see from Exum, at least as that option next to Luka and Kyrie, at least you have other options to kind of throw in there and give a different look when you need it.
Yeah, there's just more control when Exum is in the game. Exum is a guy, and when I say control, I'm not saying he's any slower than Green or anything. Exum, he can be a blur in transition. And we saw it tonight. I mean, he has the ability. He took Paul George off the dribble and got to the basket for an easy layup in the first half. I mean, I think it was in the first half, but
he had that in and out dribble. Yeah, and then he got straight to the rim.
Yeah, so I mean, he's under control, but he's still fast, and he's the same size as Green, and I feel like his defense has less holes in it than what Green does right now. Because that's another thing with Green too, is I feel like as good as he can be defensively, there's a lot of times where he's losing his man on the perimeter and giving up wide open. Like early in the game, he gave up at least 2 wide open threes to James Harden, which you can't do that.
And other times, I do feel like there are situations where he's pretty aggressive, like getting into the ball, and there becomes foul trouble issues as well at times.
Yeah. So, I mean, and I'm not saying it's like a death sentence for his rotation spot for the year, But, if Jason Kidd has to go with Exum for a handful of games, and then, the next time Green gets his big opportunity, who knows? Maybe he turns the corner and, you go with him for the next handful of games. That's the beauty of this long season is, there's a chance for everybody to contribute along the way. But as long as Luka and Kyrie are playing like they did on Wednesday night, I don't think they're going to have too much to worry about. That, there was a lot of speculation that group or that duo wasn't going to be able to work together and win together. And so far, they have proven that if you just get some serviceable role players and, surround them with those competent role players instead of, Reggie Bullock and what he was doing last year, I won't dwell on that too much. It makes for positive results, and we've seen that so far. So another quick thing before we get out of here. I just want to let people know that Kyrie Irving was talking it up with Kawhi Leonard after the game. It looked like he was doing a little recruiting there. Obviously I'm going to write about this because pipe dream trade stuff is my bread and butter. But, the Mavs, the questions they've had at the three spot in their rotation, their starting lineup, you'd think that if they could find a way to get Kawhi Leonard, that'd make a pretty solid starting five. Luka, Kyrie, Kawhi, Grant Williams, and Derek Lively. So I think Kawhi could be heading into unrestricted free agency this summer, if I'm not mistaken. But that was interesting to see. I'm sure Kyrie was just telling him, all the nice, positive things that friends talk about after games. But you know how I like to be with that stuff. So am I looking too much into that, or could there be some under the table recruiting going on?
Well, I think a lot of top players would love to be able to get one of their guys like that over to their side for sure. Like I remember, not the same perspective. Kind of the tables are turned, or maybe they're not. Who knows? But I remember when the Mavs played on the road against the Sixers, and Joel Embiid and Luka had a pretty close conversation. So I felt like zooming in and taking the screenshot and everything on the on the broadcast, you can find a lot of things, and that would definitely be one of the very intriguing ones. I'll just never forget. Like I think it was Game 6 of one of those like Mavs Clippers series where Kawhi like 45, just at the AAC,
Epic
just
battle.
like it was just an incredible game, and just having a talent like that elevates really any team. For sure. And, I think, Kyrie, the recruiter, definitely is something, obviously not like always like a Kawhi Leonard, but like, just in general, that's someone that, you should keep an eye on as a recruiter. I remember during training camp, he actually mentioned it was like a part of a long like answer about like returning to the team, I believe it was. And it was like, and I took a lot of things into consideration, and including like there's some free agents, that will be available like next year. And he was like, pretty interesting when you look at the list of names on there. Like tilted his head and everything, and then just went back into like a full answer. So like I think he definitely has, some ideas to recruit some talent to Dallas. And with the team, off to a strong start record wise, and just if he continue that momentum throughout a full season, you can probably attract quite a bit of talent for sure in general, especially with talented players like Derek Lively on a rookie contract. That only helps options as well. So yeah, definitely something to think about. In general, heading into the long time from now being the off season.
Well, and like I said, if he could leave the Clippers for nothing in free agency, and he, kind of gives a hint that that's what's going to happen, he could be moved before the February trade deadline too. So that's always something to keep an eye on too. But Kawhi in general, his skill set, aside from his skill set, which I think would fit in just incredibly alongside Luka and Kyrie, it's also one of those situations where he's had injuries throughout his career, that degenerative muscle injury with his quad or whatever it is. It's one of those situations where it might be appealing to him, to go to a team like the Mavs and be the third guy and not have as much pressure on him to produce like he has with the Clippers, because he's getting up there. He's still really good. He's still technically in his prime, but he's getting up there to that age to where it's like, okay, does he really need to be the number one guy still, or does he need to go to a situation where he's second or third guy and doesn't have as much of a burden on him? So that's something I'm keeping an eye on. Overall, really fun night. Mavs get the big win, 144 points. This offense is crazy. And it looks like there's no team in the league that's going to be able to stop this when Luka and Kyrie are playing the way they are. So, Grant, I appreciate you joining me. I'm looking forward to seeing you in New Orleans here for these next 2 games. Should be a really fun time down there in the Big Easy.
You might finally get your Luka versus Zion matchups.
Finally. Yeah, every single time I have gone down there, Zion has been injured, and I saw it the other day. It said he was out for personal reasons, and I was like, oh no, here we go. But then his girlfriend was having a baby, her fiance was having a baby. I was like, okay, well that's understandable. so he should be playing unless he tweaks his ankle in practice or something here in the next day or so. So. Well, guys, look, appreciate y'all joining us. Be sure to go like, rate, and subscribe on all your favorite podcast platforms. Hit that subscribe button on our YouTube channel. Go to Grant's channel. It's Grant Afseth on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button, over there too. Give us all the likes, comments, all that good stuff. And be sure to leave your social media in a review for the Mavs Step Back Podcast on Apple Podcasts for a chance to win giveaways. We do ticket giveaways every now and then, t-shirt giveaways, stuff of that nature. So be sure to do that. Guys, appreciate it. Y'all have a great rest of your night and have a great weekend. I might be back on here Monday morning to do another pod. We'll see how it goes Sunday night in New Orleans, but at the very latest, it'll be Wednesday next week. So y'all have a good one. We'll see you.